Most people believe their thoughts are facts. They assume the voice in their head is telling the truth about their limits, their fears, and what they can handle. But that single assumption quietly controls their decisions, their confidence, and their future. Mental strength begins the moment you realize this. Your mind is not designed to protect your potential. It is designed to protect your comfort. That's why it resists change, exaggerates fear, and pulls you back when growth demands discomfort. The people who rise under pressure don't silence this voice, they learn how to train it. Every setback, every moment of stress, every inner conflict is not a sign of weakness. It's raw material. When used correctly, pressure sharpens focus, fear builds discipline, and struggle creates resilience. The difference between those who collapse and those who grow stronger is not talent or luck. It's mental training applied consistently. What you're about to learn will change how you interpret pressure, failure, and discomfort. And once that perspective shifts, the way you respond to life can never be the same. If you truly want to change, subscribe to this channel, Audiobook USA. Here you'll find complete audiobooks, impactful and practical content you can apply in real life, and a completely free PDF with practical steps. It's not just about listening. Now it's about learning, applying, and moving forward all in one place. Chapter 1. Understanding the architecture of mental strength. Mental strength is not a single quality, but rather a complex architecture built from multiple interconnected components. To develop true mental resilience, you must understand these components and how they work together to create an unshakable foundation for your life. The first pillar of mental strength is self-awareness. This means developing a clear, honest understanding of your thoughts, emotions, triggers, and behavioral patterns. Most people live on autopilot, reacting to life without truly understanding why they think, feel, or act the way they do. Self-awareness changes this. It allows you to observe yourself objectively, to recognize patterns before they sabotage you, and to make conscious choices rather than unconscious reactions. Developing self-awareness begins with the practice of mindful observation. Throughout your day, pause periodically and ask yourself what you are thinking and feeling in that moment. Do not judge these thoughts and feelings as good or bad. Simply notice them. When you catch yourself reacting strongly to something, pause and ask why. What belief or past experience is driving this reaction? What fear or desire is underneath this emotion? This practice of questioning your internal experience creates distance between you and your automatic responses. That distance is where your power lives. In that space, you can choose how to respond rather than being controlled by conditioned patterns. The second pillar of mental strength is emotional regulation. This is your ability to experience emotions without being controlled by them. Strong emotions are part of the human experience. Fear, anger, sadness, frustration. These feelings will arise regardless of how mentally strong you become. The difference is in how you relate to these emotions. Mentally weak people are swept away by their emotions, making decisions in the heat of anger or the depths of despair that they later regret. Mentally strong people feel their emotions fully, but do not allow those emotions to dictate their actions. They create space between feeling and action, allowing themselves to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. To develop emotional regulation, you must first accept that you cannot control which emotions arise. Trying to suppress or avoid emotions only gives them more power. Instead, practice acknowledging your emotions without judgment. When you feel anger rising, you might say to yourself, "I notice that I am feeling angry right now." This simple act of labeling creates psychological distance. Then, before acting on that anger, give yourself a pause. Take 3 deep breaths. Count to 10. Go for a brief walk if possible. This pause allows the intensity of the emotion to decrease and gives your rational mind time to engage. In that space, you can ask yourself what response would serve you best in this situation. Not what would feel most satisfying in a moment, but what would create the outcome you actually want. The third pillar of mental strength is perspective. This is your ability to see situations from multiple angles, to distinguish between what is truly important and what is trivial, and to maintain a long-term view even in the midst of short-term challenges. Perspective protects you from catastrophizing, from making mountains out of molehills, and from losing sight of your larger goals when faced with temporary obstacles. When something goes wrong, mentally weak people often think, "This is terrible. Everything is ruined. I cannot handle this." Mentally strong people think, "This is challenging and I will need to adapt. How can I handle this effectively? What do I learn from this? How will this look a year from now?" Developing perspective requires intentional practice. When you face a problem, train yourself to ask perspective-expanding questions. Is this actually as bad as it feels right now? Or am I catastrophizing? Will this matter in a week, a month, a year, or 5 years? What would I tell a friend who is facing this exact situation? What opportunity might be hidden in this challenge? These questions interrupt the spiral of negative thinking and help you see the situation more clearly. Another powerful practice for building perspective is the 10-10-10 rule. When facing a decision or problem, ask yourself how you will feel about this choice in 10 minutes, 10 months, and 10 years. This simple framework helps you distinguish between reactions driven by temporary emotions and decisions aligned with your long-term values and goals. The fourth pillar of mental strength is adaptability. Life is unpredictable. Plans fall apart. Circumstances change. People disappoint us. Unexpected obstacles appear. Mental strength requires the ability to adapt to changing conditions without losing your sense of purpose or direction. Rigid thinking creates fragility. When you're overly attached to specific outcomes or methods, you become vulnerable to breaking when reality does not conform to your expectations. Adaptability means holding your goals firmly while remaining flexible about the path to reach them. It means viewing obstacles not as stop signs, but as signals to adjust your approach. To build adaptability, start by examining areas where you might be unnecessarily rigid. Do you insist on doing things a certain way simply because that is how you have always done them? Do you become upset when plans change, even when the change might lead to something better? Do you struggle to consider alternative perspectives or approaches? Flexibility begins with releasing the need for absolute certainty and control. It means accepting that multiple paths can lead to the same destination, and that sometimes the unexpected route offers valuable experiences and opportunities you would have missed on your planned path. Practice saying yes to small changes and disruptions. When a restaurant you plan to visit is closed, view it as an opportunity to try somewhere new rather than a disappointment. When a meeting gets rescheduled, use the free time productively rather than feeling frustrated. These small practices build the mental flexibility that will serve you when facing larger disruptions. The fifth pillar of mental strength is resilience. This is your ability to recover from setbacks, to bounce back from failure, and to persist in the face of ongoing challenges. Resilience does not mean you never fall down. It means you always get back up. It means you view failure as feedback rather than as a final verdict on your capabilities. Resilient people understand that setbacks are inevitable and temporary. They do not waste energy denying problems or wallowing in self-pity. They acknowledge the difficulty, feel their emotions about it, and then shift their focus to what they can do next. Building resilience requires reframing your relationship with failure and difficulty. Instead of seeing challenges as threats to your ego or evidence of your inadequacy, View them as opportunities for growth and learning. When something goes wrong, immediately ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can this make me better? What will I do differently next time? This shift from victim mindset to growth mindset fundamentally changes how you experience setbacks. You also build resilience by deliberately exposing yourself to manageable challenges. If you only stay in your comfort zone, you never develop the confidence that comes from overcoming difficulty. Start small. Take on projects that stretch your abilities slightly. Have difficult conversations you have been avoiding. Try activities that feel uncomfortable. Each time you face a challenge and survive, you build evidence for yourself that you are capable of handling difficulty. This evidence becomes the foundation of unshakable confidence. The sixth pillar of mental strength is focus. In a world of constant distraction, the ability to direct and maintain your attention on what matters most is a superpower. Focus allows you to complete important tasks, to make progress toward meaningful goals, and to be fully present in your relationships and experiences. Mental strength requires training your attention like you would train a muscle. Most people allow their attention to be pulled in whatever direction feels most urgent or interesting in a moment. This creates a scattered, reactive existence where you're always busy but rarely productive, always consuming information but rarely creating value. Developing focus begins with clarifying what deserves your attention. You cannot focus on everything, so you must choose. What are your most important goals? What relationships matter most? What activities align with your values and contribute to the life you want to build? Once you have clarity on what matters, you can practice directing your attention accordingly. This means saying no to distractions, even appealing ones. It means creating environments that support focus rather than fragment it. It means building routines that protect time for deep work on important projects. It means training yourself to notice when your attention has wandered and gently bringing it back to your chosen focus. One practical method for building focus is the practice of single tasking. Choose one activity and commit to doing only that activity for a set period, even if it is just 15 minutes. Turn off notifications. Close unnecessary tabs and applications. Put your phone in another room. When your mind wanders to other tasks or worries, acknowledge the thought and return your attention to your chosen activity. This simple practice, repeated consistently, dramatically strengthens your ability to focus. Over time, you can extend these periods of focused attention, building the mental endurance needed for deep, meaningful work. These 6 pillars, self-awareness, emotional regulation, perspective, adaptability, resilience, and focus, form the foundation of mental strength. They are interconnected and mutually reinforcing. As you develop one, the others become easier to strengthen. Together, they create a robust mental architecture that can support you through any challenge. In the following chapters, we will explore specific strategies and practices for developing each of these pillars and applying them to the real situations you face every day. You'll learn not just what mental strength is, but how to build it, how to maintain it, and how to use it to create the life you want. This is practical knowledge that will serve you immediately and for the rest of your life. Chapter 2: Mastering your thoughts and beliefs. Your thoughts create your reality. This is not a metaphysical claim, but a psychological fact. The thoughts you habitually think shape your beliefs. Your beliefs shape your expectations. Your expectations shape your actions, and your actions create your results. If you want to change your results, you must start by changing your thoughts. Most people do not realize they have the power to choose their thoughts. They believe their thoughts simply happen to them, arising automatically in response to circumstances. This is partially true. Your brain does generate automatic thoughts based on past experiences and learned patterns. However, you have the power to observe these automatic thoughts, evaluate their accuracy and usefulness, and consciously choose different thoughts when the automatic ones do not serve you. The practice of managing your thoughts begins with awareness. Throughout your day, pay attention to your self-talk, the ongoing narrative running through your mind. What do you say to yourself when you make a mistake? When you face a challenge? When you look in the mirror? When you compare yourself to others? For most people, this self-talk is surprisingly harsh and negative. You would never speak to a friend the way you speak to yourself. You would never tolerate someone else talking to you the way your inner critic talks to you. Yet you accept this negative self-talk as normal, as just the way your mind works. This is the first pattern you must change. When you notice negative self-talk, do not try to suppress it. Suppression does not work. Instead, acknowledge the thought and then question it. Is this thought actually true? What evidence supports it? What evidence contradicts it? Is this thought helpful? Does it move me toward my goals or away from them? Would I say this to someone I care about? This process of questioning your thoughts creates distance from them. You begin to see thoughts as mental events that you can observe and evaluate rather than as facts you must accept. Once you have questioned a negative thought, you can choose a more accurate and helpful thought to replace it. This is not about false positive thinking or lying to yourself. It is about finding thoughts that are both true and constructive. For example, if you make a mistake and think, "I am such an idiot, I cannot do anything right," you can question this thought. Is it true that you cannot do anything right? Of course not. You do many things well. This thought is an overgeneralization, a cognitive distortion that exaggerates the significance of a single error. A more accurate and helpful thought might be, "I made a mistake. That is normal and human. I can learn from this and do better next time." This thought is true. It acknowledges the mistake without catastrophizing, and it directs your attention toward learning and improvement rather than self-criticism and shame. Another powerful practice for managing your thoughts is reframing. Reframing means looking at a situation from a different angle to find a more empowering interpretation. The facts of a situation do not change, but your interpretation of those facts dramatically affect how you feel and what you do next. If you lose your job, you can frame this as a catastrophe that proves you are a failure, or you can frame it as an opportunity to find work that better aligns with your strengths and interests. Both interpretations are possible. One will leave you depressed and paralyzed. The other will energize you to take action. The facts are the same. The frame makes all the difference. To practice reframing, identify a situation in your life that feels negative or challenging. Write down your current interpretation of this situation. Then, force yourself to generate at least 3 alternative interpretations. What else could this situation mean? What opportunity might it contain? What lesson might it offer? How might this difficulty serve you in the long run? You may not immediately believe these alternative interpretations, and that is fine. The goal is simply to recognize that your initial interpretation is not the only possible interpretation. This recognition alone creates mental flexibility and reduces the power of negative thinking patterns. Your beliefs, which are simply thoughts you have repeated so many times that they feel like facts, exert tremendous influence over your life. Limiting beliefs act like invisible barriers, preventing you from attempting things that would be possible if you believed differently. Common limiting beliefs include, "I am not smart enough," "I do not have what it takes," "people like me do not succeed," "I am too old or too young, I always fail at this," and "success is for other people, not for me." These beliefs feel true because you have believed them for so long and because your brain constantly looks for evidence that confirms them while ignoring evidence that contradicts them. This is called confirmation bias, and it keeps you trapped in limiting beliefs even when those beliefs are demonstrably false. To overcome limiting beliefs, you must first identify them. Listen to the stories you tell yourself about what you can and cannot do, about who you are and who you are not. When you catch yourself thinking I cannot or I am not, pause and examine that belief. Where did it come from? Is it based on one or two experiences that you have generalized into a permanent limitation? Is it something someone else said that you internalized? Is it based on who you were in the past rather than who you can become? Most limiting beliefs crumble under scrutiny because they're not based on objective reality, but on limited experiences and faulty interpretations. Once you have identified a limiting belief, you can begin to challenge it by deliberately gathering evidence that contradicts it. If you believe you're not smart enough, identify times when you learned something difficult or solved a complex problem. If you believe you always fail, list your successes, even small ones. Your brain will resist this exercise because it contradicts your existing belief. Do it anyway. The more evidence you gather against a limiting belief, the weaker that belief becomes. You can also challenge limiting beliefs by conducting experiments. If you believe you cannot do something, set up a small, low-risk test of that belief. You may discover that the belief was false, or you may learn that you can develop the capability with practice. Either way, you have weakened the limiting belief and created an opening for growth. Replacing limiting beliefs with empowering beliefs is the final step. An empowering belief is one that opens possibilities rather than closing them, that encourages action rather than paralysis, that focuses on what you can control rather than what you cannot. Instead of "I'm not smart enough," you might believe "I can learn whatever I need to know." Instead of "I always fail," you might believe "I learn from setbacks and eventually succeed." Instead of "success is for other people," you might believe "I am capable of creating success through consistent effort." These empowering beliefs are not fantasies. They're based on truth. You can learn. You do learn from setbacks. You're capable of creating success. The question is whether you will believe these truths and act on them, or continue believing the lies that keep you small. Your thoughts and beliefs are not fixed features of your personality. They are habits that can be changed through awareness and practice. Every time you catch a negative thought and replace it with a more accurate and helpful one, you weaken the neural pathways associated with negative thinking and strengthen the pathways associated with constructive thinking. Every time you challenge a limiting belief and take action despite it, you prove to yourself that the belief is not absolute truth. Over time, these small acts of mental discipline compound into a dramatically different way of thinking, which creates a dramatically different way of living. You become someone who sees possibilities instead of limitations, who responds to challenges with curiosity instead of fear, who believes in their capacity to grow and improve. This shift in thinking is the foundation of all other changes you want to make in your life. Chapter 3: Building Emotional Strength and Resilience. Emotions are powerful forces that can either fuel your success or sabotage your efforts. Mental strength requires developing a healthy relationship with your emotions, one that allows you to feel them fully without being controlled by them. Many people make the mistake of trying to eliminate negative emotions or suppress them when they arise. This approach always fails because emotions are not optional. They are biological responses to your interpretation of events, and they serve important functions. Fear alerts you to danger. Anger signals that a boundary has been violated. Sadness indicates loss. These emotions are not your enemies. The problem arises when you allow emotions to dictate your behavior without the filter of rational thought. The first step in building emotional strength is accepting all of your emotions as valid. There are no bad emotions, only emotions that feel uncomfortable. When you label emotions as bad or wrong, you create internal conflict. You feel angry and then feel guilty about feeling angry, which creates shame, which makes you feel worse. This cycle of emotional resistance creates suffering. Acceptance means allowing yourself to feel what you feel without judgment. It means recognizing that feeling angry or sad or anxious does not make you weak or broken. It makes you human. Once you stop fighting your emotions, they lose much of their power over you. The emotion arises, you acknowledge it, you allow yourself to feel it, and then it naturally begins to subside. This is the normal cycle of emotions when you do not resist them. The second step is developing the skill of emotional labeling. Research shows that simply naming your emotions reduces their intensity and activates the reasoning centers of your brain. When you feel overwhelmed by emotion, pause and ask yourself, what exactly am I feeling right now? Be specific. Instead of "I feel bad," try to identify the precise emotion. Am I feeling disappointed, frustrated, anxious, embarrassed, or hurt? Each of these emotions feels different and arises for different reasons. By identifying the specific emotion, you gain clarity about what is actually happening inside you. This clarity makes it easier to respond effectively. You can then ask, why am I feeling this emotion? What triggered it? What need or value does this emotion relate to? This level of emotional awareness transforms you from someone who is controlled by mysterious feelings into someone who understands their emotional landscape and can navigate it skillfully. The third step is creating space between feeling and action. This is perhaps the most important skill for emotional strength. Just because you feel something does not mean you must act on that feeling immediately. You can feel angry without yelling. You can feel anxious without avoiding. You can feel sad without giving up. The key is to pause between the feeling and the action. This pause can be just a few seconds or several minutes, depending on the situation. During this pause, take several slow, deep breaths. This activates your parasympathetic nervous system, which calms your body and helps your thinking brain come back online. Then ask yourself, what action would serve me best in this situation? Not what would feel most satisfying to my emotion right now, but what would create the outcome I actually want. For example, imagine your boss criticizes your work in front of your colleagues. You feel a surge of anger and embarrassment. Your immediate emotional impulse might be to defend yourself, to criticize your boss in return, or to shut down and stop contributing. None of these responses would serve you well. But if you pause, breathe, and create space between feeling and action, you can choose a more effective response. You might say, I appreciate the feedback. Can we discuss this in more detail in private so I can understand how to improve? This response acknowledges the feedback, maintains your professionalism, and sets a boundary by requesting a private conversation. It serves you much better than acting on your initial emotional impulse. Building emotional strength also requires developing what psychologists call distress tolerance. This is your ability to withstand uncomfortable emotions and situations without making them worse through avoidance or impulsive action. Many people have very low distress tolerance. They cannot sit with uncomfortable feelings, so they immediately reach for something to numb or distract themselves. They scroll through social media, eat junk food, binge watch shows, drink alcohol, or engage in other avoidance behaviors. These behaviors provide temporary relief, but do not address the underlying issue and often create additional problems. Building distress tolerance means learning to sit with discomfort without immediately trying to escape it. You can practice distress tolerance in small, manageable ways. When you feel bored, resist the urge to immediately grab your phone. Sit with the boredom for a few minutes. Notice what it feels like in your body. Observe your thoughts. You will discover that boredom, like all emotions, rises, peaks, and falls if you allow it to run its natural course. When you feel anxious about a future event, Resist the urge to endlessly research or plan as a way to feel in control. Acknowledge the anxiety. Remind yourself that feeling anxious does not mean something bad will happen, and redirect your attention to the present moment. Each time you successfully tolerate discomfort without escape, you build confidence in your ability to handle difficult emotions. This confidence is the foundation of emotional resilience. Another crucial aspect of emotional strength is developing healthy coping mechanisms for processing difficult emotions. Everyone needs ways to release emotional tension and process challenging experiences. The question is whether your coping mechanisms are constructive or destructive. Destructive coping mechanisms provide short-term relief but create long-term problems. These include substance abuse, emotional eating, excessive spending, lashing out at others, or withdrawing from life. Constructive coping mechanisms also provide relief, but without negative consequences and often with positive side effects. These include physical exercise, creative expression, talking with supportive friends, journaling, spending time in nature, meditation, or engaging in hobbies you enjoy. Evaluate your current coping mechanisms honestly. When you feel stressed, sad, or anxious, what do you typically do? Do your coping strategies help you process the emotion and move forward, or do they numb the emotion temporarily while creating additional problems? If you identify destructive patterns, make a plan to replace them with healthier alternatives. This does not mean you will never struggle or slip back into old patterns. It means you are intentionally building new pathways for dealing with difficult emotions. When you notice yourself reaching for a destructive coping mechanism, pause and choose a constructive alternative instead. Over time, the healthy coping mechanisms will become your new default. Emotional strength also involves developing compassion for yourself when you struggle. Many people are extremely hard on themselves when they experience difficult emotions or handle situations imperfectly. They berate themselves for feeling anxious or for making mistakes. This self-criticism does not motivate improvement. It creates shame, which is one of the most toxic emotions you can experience. Shame makes you want to hide and give up rather than face challenges and grow. Self-compassion is not self-indulgence or making excuses. It is treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding you would offer a good friend. It is recognizing that struggle and imperfection are part of the human experience, not evidence of your unworthiness. When you face a difficult emotion or handle a situation poorly, practice self-compassion by first acknowledging your suffering. You might say to yourself, "This is really hard right now," or "I'm struggling," and that is okay. Then remind yourself that struggle is universal. You might think, "Everyone faces challenges and difficult emotions. I'm not alone in this." Finally, offer yourself kindness. You might say, "May I be kind to myself in this moment?" Or "What do I need right now to take care of myself?" This simple practice interrupts the cycle of self-criticism and creates space for genuine healing and growth. When you treat yourself with compassion, you have more emotional resources available to handle challenges effectively. Emotional strength is not about becoming emotionless or invulnerable. It is about developing a mature relationship with your emotions, one that allows you to experience the full range of human feelings without being controlled by them. It is about understanding that emotions are temporary states, not permanent conditions. It is about having the tools to process difficult emotions in healthy ways and the wisdom to choose actions based on your values and goals rather than your momentary feelings. As you develop emotional strength, you will find that situations that once derailed you for days now barely slow you down. You will experience difficult emotions without catastrophizing or spiraling. You will make decisions based on what serves you long-term rather than what feels good in the moment. This is the power of emotional mastery, and it is available to you through consistent practice of these principles. Chapter 4: Developing Unshakable Confidence and Self-Worth. Confidence is not something you are born with or without. It is a skill that can be developed through intentional practice and experience. Many people wait to feel confident before taking action, but this is backwards. Confidence comes from taking action despite fear and doubt, and then building evidence through experience that you are capable. If you wait until you feel fully confident, you will wait forever. The path to confidence is through action, through doing the thing you doubt you can do and proving to yourself that you can survive it, learn from it, and improve. This is how confidence is built, one small act of courage at a time. The foundation of genuine confidence is self-worth, and self-worth must be unconditional. Many people make the mistake of basing their self-worth on external achievements, appearance, or the approval of others. This creates a fragile sense of self that rises and falls with circumstances. When things go well, you feel worthy. When things go poorly, you feel worthless. This is not genuine self-worth. It is conditional self-esteem, and it keeps you on an emotional roller coaster. True self-worth is the recognition that you have inherent value as a human being, regardless of your achievements, appearance, or what others think of you. You are worthy of respect, kindness, and belonging simply because you exist. Your worth is not something you earn or lose. It is something you already have and always will have. This may sound like empty positive thinking, but it is actually a rational position. Think about it this way. You would not say that a baby has less worth than an accomplished adult. You would not say that someone who loses their job has less worth than someone who gets promoted. You recognize that all people have inherent human dignity regardless of their circumstances or achievements. This is true for others, and it is true for you. Your accomplishments, your failures, your appearance, your relationships, these things may change, but your fundamental worth as a person does not. When you truly internalize this understanding, you become emotionally stable in a way that external circumstances cannot shake. You can face failure without feeling like a failure. You can face criticism without feeling worthless. You can pursue goals without needing those goals to validate your existence. Building confidence in specific areas requires competence, which comes from practice and skill development. If you want to be confident in public speaking, you must practice public speaking. If you want to be confident in social situations, you must put yourself in social situations and develop social skills. There is no way around this. You cannot think your way to confidence. You must act your way to it. The key is to start small and build gradually. If public speaking terrifies you, do not start by giving a keynote speech to thousands of people. Start by speaking up in a small meeting. Then volunteer to give a brief presentation to a few colleagues. Then join a speaking club like Toastmasters where you can practice in a supportive environment. Each small success builds evidence that you can handle this challenge, and that evidence becomes the foundation of confidence. As you build competence through practice, you will inevitably face setbacks and failures. This is where many people give up, interpreting failure as evidence that they are not capable. But failure is not evidence of inability. It is evidence that you are pushing beyond your current limits, which is exactly where growth happens. Every successful person has failed repeatedly. The difference is they did not interpret failure as a final verdict on their capabilities. They interpreted it as feedback about what to adjust, what to practice more, what to try differently. If you want to build unshakable confidence, you must reframe your relationship with failure. See it as information, not identity. See it as a temporary setback, not a permanent limitation. See it as proof that you are challenging yourself, not proof that you should give up. One powerful practice for building confidence is keeping a success log. Each day, write down 3 things you did well, no matter how small. Maybe you had a difficult conversation you had been avoiding. Maybe you completed a challenging project. Maybe you went to the gym even though you did not feel like it. Maybe you were kind to yourself when you made a mistake. These daily wins accumulate into undeniable evidence of your capability. When doubt arises, you can review your success log and remind yourself of all the times you stepped up, followed through, and handled challenges. This practice counteracts the brain's natural negativity bias, which causes you to remember failures and overlook successes. Confidence also requires managing your inner critic. Everyone has an internal voice that criticizes, doubts, and points out flaws. For some people, this voice is loud and constant. It tells them they're not good enough, that they will fail, that they should not even try. This inner critic often sounds like a parent, teacher, or other authority figure from your past who is overly critical. You internalize their voice, and now it runs automatically in your mind. The inner critic believes it is protecting you from failure and rejection by keeping your expectations low and preventing you from taking risks. But in reality, it is keeping you small and stuck. You must learn to recognize this voice as just one part of your mind, not the truth about who you are. When you notice your inner critic speaking, do not argue with it or try to suppress it. Simply acknowledge it. You might say to yourself, "There's my inner critic again. I hear you, but I am not going to let you run my life." Then consciously choose to listen to a different voice, the voice of your inner coach or inner mentor. This is the part of you that believes in your potential, that encourages you to try, that reminds you of your strengths and past successes. You can develop this voice by deliberately practicing encouraging self-talk. Speak to yourself the way you would speak to someone you are mentoring. Be honest about challenges, but also encouraging about capabilities. Point out what you're doing well, not just what you need to improve. Another trap that undermines confidence is the comparison habit. In the age of social media, it is easy to constantly compare yourself to others and feel inadequate. You see someone else's success, polished appearance, or perfect life, and judge yourself as lacking. But comparison is always unfair because you are comparing your behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel. You see your struggles, doubts, and messy reality, while you see only the curated, edited version of others' lives. This comparison will always leave you feeling inadequate, no matter how much you achieve, because there will always be someone ahead of you in some area. The antidote to comparison is focusing on your own progress rather than others' achievements. Instead of asking, "How do I compare to them?" ask, "Am I better today than I was last month or last year? Am I making progress toward my own goals? Am I developing my own potential?" Your only meaningful competition is with your past self. Are you growing, learning, improving? That is what matters. When you catch yourself comparing, consciously redirect your attention to your own journey. Celebrate other success without making it mean something negative about yourself. Their win is not your loss. There is not a limited supply of success or worth. Another person's shine does not dim your light. Building confidence also means learning to handle criticism and rejection without internalizing them as evidence of your inadequacy. Criticism is inevitable if you do anything worthwhile. Not everyone will like you, approve of your choices, or appreciate your work. This is not a reflection of your value. It is simply reality. Different people have different preferences, perspectives, and needs. When you receive criticism, evaluate it objectively. Is it valid? Does it point to an area where you could genuinely improve? If so, take the useful information and discard the rest. If the criticism is not constructive or comes from someone who does not understand what you're trying to accomplish, you can simply acknowledge it and move on. You do not need to defend yourself, or prove your worth to every person who questions it. Rejection is similarly inevitable and similarly meaningless as a measure of your worth. When you apply for jobs, pursue opportunities, or put yourself out there in any way, you will face rejection. This does not mean you are not good enough. It means that particular opportunity was not the right fit for reasons that often have nothing to do with you. Maybe they hired someone with different experience. Maybe they were looking for a different style. Maybe the timing was not right. Rejection is a numbers game. The more you try, the more you will be rejected, and also the more you will succeed. People with the most success also have the most rejection because they put themselves out there most frequently. When you understand this, rejection loses its sting. It becomes simply part of the process, not a judgment on your value. Ultimately, unshakable confidence comes from knowing yourself, accepting yourself, and consistently showing up for yourself. It comes from keeping your commitments to yourself, even small ones like go to the gym when you planned or finishing a project you started. Each kept commitment builds self-trust, and self-trust is the foundation of confidence. It comes from treating yourself with respect and kindness, speaking to yourself encouragingly, and refusing to abandon yourself when things get hard. It comes from being willing to fail, to look foolish, to be imperfect, and to try anyway. Confidence is not the absence of fear or doubt. It is the decision to act despite fear and doubt. It is the knowledge that you can handle whatever comes, not because life will be easy, but because you're strong enough to face difficulty. This confidence is unshakable because it is not based on circumstances. It is based on your relationship with yourself and your commitment to keep growing regardless of obstacles. Chapter 5: Mastering Focus and Mental Discipline in a Distracted World. Your ability to focus is under attack. Every day, companies, apps, and platforms compete for your attention using sophisticated psychological techniques designed to fragment your focus and keep you endlessly scrolling, clicking, and consuming. The average person checks their phone over 150 times per day and can focus on a single task for less than 3 minutes before being distracted. This is not a personal failing. This is the result of living in an attention economy where your focus is the product being sold. If you want to build mental strength and achieve meaningful goals, you must learn to protect and direct your attention deliberately. Focus is not just helpful, it is essential. Without the ability to focus, you cannot think deeply, solve complex problems, or do high-quality work. You remain trapped on the surface of life, reacting to whatever captures your attention next. The first step in mastering focus is understanding what destroys it. The obvious culprits are digital distractions like social media, email, news, and messaging apps. These tools are designed to interrupt you frequently and deliver small hits of dopamine that keep you coming back. Every notification, every new like or message triggers a tiny reward response in your brain. Over time, your brain becomes conditioned to crave these interruptions. You find yourself checking your phone even when you know nothing new has arrived, simply because the habit is so ingrained. This constant switching between tasks and interruptions has a measurable cost. Research shows that it takes an average of 23 minutes to fully regain focus after an interruption. If you're interrupted every few minutes, you never achieve deep focus at all. You remain in a state of continuous partial attention, always skimming the surface, never going deep. The less obvious destroyer of focus is mental clutter. This includes worrying about the future, ruminating about the past, maintaining a long mental to-do list, and juggling multiple commitments and concerns simultaneously. When your mind is cluttered, part of your attention is always diverted to these background concerns. You sit down to work on an important project, but part of your mind is worried about an upcoming conversation. Another part is thinking about what you need to buy at the store, and another part is replaying something that happened yesterday. This divided attention makes quality focus impossible. You must learn to clear mental clutter before you can focus deeply. Building the capacity for deep focus requires creating both external and internal conditions that support concentration. External conditions include your physical environment and the systems you use to manage your attention. Start by designing your environment to minimize distractions. This might mean working in a quiet space, using noise-canceling headphones, turning off all notifications, putting your phone in another room, or using website blockers to prevent access to distracting sites during focused work time. These are simple changes, but they make a dramatic difference. If your phone is in your pocket, you will check it. If it is in another room, you will not. If distracting websites are easily accessible, you will visit them. If they are blocked, you will stay focused. Do not rely on willpower to resist easily accessible distractions. Remove the distractions instead. Internal conditions for focus include your mental and emotional state. You cannot focus if you are exhausted, hungry, anxious, or overwhelmed. Take care of your basic needs first. Get adequate sleep. Eat regular, nutritious meals. Manage your stress through exercise, meditation, or other healthy practices. When you sit down to focus, do a quick check of your internal state. Are you physically comfortable? Are you mentally clear? If not, address what you can before trying to focus. Sometimes a brief walk, a few minutes of stretching, or some deep breathing is all you need to shift into a state that supports concentration. One of the most powerful techniques for building focus is time blocking. This means scheduling specific blocks of time for specific activities and protecting those blocks from interruption. Instead of working on tasks randomly as they come to mind or as others demand your attention, you decide in advance what you will work on and when. For example, you might block 9 to 11 a.m. for focused work on your most important project, 11 to 12 for email and communication, 12 to 1 for lunch and a walk, 1 to 3 for meetings, and 3 to 4 for administrative tasks. During each block, you work only on that designated activity. This prevents the constant task switching that destroys productivity and focus. When implementing time blocking, start with just 1 or 2 focus blocks per day. During these blocks, eliminate all distractions and work on one task with full attention. You might be surprised by how much you accomplish in just 1 hour of truly focused work compared to a full day of distracted, fragmented effort. As you build this capacity, you can add more focus blocks. Some people eventually structure their entire day this way, though this level of structure is not necessary for everyone. The key is having at least some time each day for deep, uninterrupted focus on what matters most. Another essential practice for building focus is single tasking. Multitasking is a myth. Your brain cannot actually focus on 2 complex tasks simultaneously. What you call multitasking is really rapid task switching, and it comes with significant cost to quality, speed, and mental energy. When you try to multitask, you complete tasks more slowly, make more errors, and feel more mentally exhausted than if you had done the tasks one at a time. Single tasking means choosing one task and staying with it until completion or until you reach a natural stopping point. This might feel slow at first, especially if you're used to juggling multiple things at once. But you will quickly discover that you complete tasks faster and at higher quality when you give them your full attention. To practice single tasking, choose a task and commit to working on only that task for a set period. Start with just 15 or 20 minutes if longer feels too difficult. During this time, do not check email, do not look at your phone, do not start thinking about other tasks. When your mind wanders to something else, which it will, gently bring it back to your chosen task. This is like a mental push-up. Each time you notice your attention has wandered and bring it back, you strengthen your focus muscle. Over time, you will be able to sustain single-pointed focus for longer periods, and this capacity will transform your productivity and the quality of your work. Building focus also requires learning to say no. Every yes to one thing is a no to something else. If you say yes to scrolling social media, you say no to reading that book you've been meaning to read. If you say yes to attending every meeting you are invited to, you say no to focused work time. If you say yes to every request for your time and attention, you say no to your own priorities and goals. Many people struggle with saying no because they want to be helpful, they fear disappointing others, or they do not want to miss out on opportunities. But saying yes to everything means saying no to focus, to deep work, to your most important goals. You must become selective about where you invest your attention and energy. Practice evaluating requests and opportunities against your priorities. Before saying yes to anything, ask yourself, does this align with my current goals and values? Will this move me toward what I'm trying to create, or will it distract me from it? Is this truly important, or does it just feel urgent? You do not need to justify your no with elaborate explanations. A simple, "I appreciate you thinking of me, but I cannot take this on right now," is sufficient. Most people respect clear, kind boundaries. Those who do not respect your boundaries are precisely the people you need to say no to most firmly. Mental discipline is closely related to focus. Discipline is doing what needs to be done even when you do not feel like it. It is following through on your commitments to yourself even when motivation is low, even when distractions are appealing, even when the task is difficult. Discipline, like focus, is a skill that can be developed through practice. Start small. Choose one area where you want to build discipline and commit to a small, manageable action. Maybe you commit to meditating for 5 minutes every morning, or to writing for 15 minutes each day, or to go to bed by 10 p.m. The specific action matters less than the practice of keeping your commitment regardless of how you feel. When you commit to something, you will inevitably face resistance. Part of you will not want to follow through. You'll be tired or busy or convinced that skipping just this once does not matter. This is the critical moment. If you give in to this resistance, you teach yourself that your commitments are optional, that you cannot trust yourself to follow through. If you honor your commitment despite resistance, you build self-trust and discipline. Each time you do what you said you would do, especially when it is hard, you prove to yourself that you are someone who keeps their word. This identity as a person of discipline becomes self-reinforcing. You begin to see yourself as someone who follows through, and that self-image makes it easier to maintain discipline. One powerful tool for maintaining discipline is implementation intentions. This means deciding in advance exactly when, where, and how you will do something. Instead of a vague goal like "I want to exercise more," you create a specific plan like "I will go to the gym Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 6 a.m. before work. I will lay out my workout clothes the night before. I will drive to the gym immediately after my alarm goes off, before I have time to talk myself out of it." This level of specificity dramatically increases follow-through because you have removed decision-making from the equation. When Monday morning arrives, you do not debate whether to go. You already decided. You simply execute the plan. Building focus and discipline also requires managing your energy, not just your time. You have a limited supply of mental energy each day, and different activities drain or restore this energy at different rates. Activities that require focus, decision-making, or self-control deplete mental energy. Activities that are enjoyable, energizing, or restorative replenish it. If you schedule all your hardest, most draining tasks back-to-back with no breaks, you will burn out quickly. Instead, alternate between demanding tasks and restorative activities. Take regular breaks. Step away from your desk. Move your body. Spend a few minutes outside. Have a conversation with someone you enjoy. These breaks are not wasted time. They are essential for maintaining the mental energy needed for sustained focus and productivity. You can also protect your mental energy by reducing decision fatigue. Every decision you make, even small ones like what to wear or what to eat for breakfast, consumes mental energy. This is why highly successful people often simplify their lives in ways that reduce unnecessary decisions. They wear similar clothes every day. They eat similar meals. They have consistent routines. This is not about being boring or rigid. It is about conserving mental energy for the decisions that matter. If you can automate or routinize the small decisions, you have more mental energy available for the important ones. Focus and discipline are not about perfection. You will have days when your focus is poor, when you give in to distractions, when you break your commitments to yourself. This is normal and human. The key is not to let one slip become a slide. When you notice you have lost focus or broken discipline, do not waste energy on self-criticism. Simply acknowledge it, learn from it if there is something to learn, and recommit. What would make it easier to maintain focus or discipline next time? Maybe you need to remove more distractions or schedule your focused work at a different time of day when you have more energy, or break your task into smaller pieces so it feels less overwhelming. Each time you lose focus and regain it, you're still building the muscle of concentration. Each time you break discipline and recommit, you are still strengthening your capacity for follow-through. In a world designed to fracture your attention and pull you in 1,000 different directions, the ability to focus deeply on what matters most is a superpower. It allows you to think clearly, work effectively, create meaningful work, and make progress toward your most important goals. It protects you from the trap of busy but unproductive activity. It enables you to be fully present in your relationships and experiences. Focus and discipline are skills that improve with practice. Every moment you choose to direct your attention intentionally rather than allowing it to be captured by distractions, you strengthen these capacities. Every time you follow through on a commitment despite not feeling like it, you build the identity of a disciplined person. These small acts of intentional focus and discipline compound over time into a dramatically different life, one of clarity, purpose, and meaningful achievement. Chapter 6: Building Resilience Through Adversity and Challenge. Resilience is not about avoiding difficulty. It is about developing the capacity to face difficulty, recover from setbacks, and emerge stronger from challenges. Resilient people experience the same difficulties as everyone else. They lose jobs, face rejection, encounter obstacles, and experience failure. The difference is in how they respond to these difficulties. Where others might give up, stay stuck, or spiral into despair, resilient people find ways to adapt, learn, and move forward. Resilience is not a trait you were born with. It is a set of skills and mindsets that can be developed through practice and experience. The foundation of resilience is accepting that difficulty is inevitable. Life will not always go according to plan. You will face setbacks, disappointments, and obstacles. This is not evidence that something is wrong with you or your life. This is simply the nature of being human. When you accept this reality, you stop wasting energy asking why this is happening to me or wishing circumstances were different. You can redirect that energy toward dealing effectively with the situation at hand. Acceptance does not mean resignation or passivity. It means acknowledging reality clearly so you can respond to it effectively. You cannot change what you refuse to accept. When adversity strikes, resilient people move through a predictable process. First, they allow themselves to feel the natural emotions that arise. If they lose a job, they feel disappointed, worried, or angry. They do not suppress or avoid these feelings. They acknowledge them and allow themselves to process them. This emotional processing is essential. If you skip this step and try to immediately jump to problem solving, the unprocessed emotions will sabotage your efforts. They will leak out as pessimism, lack of motivation, or destructive behavior. Give yourself permission to feel difficult emotions and give them time to run their course. After processing the initial emotional response, resilient people shift their focus to what they can control. In any difficult situation, there are factors you can control and factors you cannot. You cannot control whether you were laid off, but you can control how you respond. You cannot control other people's behavior, but you can control your own. You cannot control the past, but you can control your actions in the present. Resilient people waste minimal energy on what they cannot control and invest maximum energy in what they can. They ask themselves, given this situation, what is within my power to influence? What action can I take right now, even a small one, to move in a positive direction? This focus on actionable steps is crucial. When facing a major challenge, it is easy to feel overwhelmed and paralyzed. The problem feels too big, too complex, too impossible to solve. Resilient people break large problems into smaller, manageable pieces. They ask, what is one small step I can take today? Maybe you lost your job. You cannot get a new job this afternoon, but you can update your resume. You can reach out to 3 contacts in your network. You can research companies you would like to work for. Each small action creates momentum and builds confidence that you can handle the situation. Small actions compound into significant progress. Resilient people also reframe adversity as opportunity. This is not about fake positivity or pretending that bad things are actually good. It is about genuinely looking for what this challenge might teach you or how it might serve you in the long run. Maybe losing your job forces you to finally pursue the career change you have been putting off. Maybe a health crisis teaches you to prioritize your well-being and set better boundaries. Maybe a relationship ending clears space for a better relationship to enter your life. You cannot always see these opportunities immediately. Sometimes it takes months or years to recognize how a difficult experience served you. But resilient people trust that challenges often contain hidden gifts, and they remain open to discovering them. Another key aspect of resilience is maintaining perspective. When you are in the middle of a crisis, it can feel like the most important thing in the world, like nothing else matters, like life will never be okay again. Resilient people have the capacity to zoom out and see the bigger picture. They remind themselves that this is one chapter, not the whole story. They ask, how will I feel about this a year from now? 5 years from now? Will this matter in the grand scheme of my life? Often, the answer is that while this feels enormous right now, it will become just another experience, another challenge you overcame. This perspective does not minimize the difficulty, but it prevents you from catastrophizing or losing hope. Resilience is also built through preparation. Just as you might prepare for emergencies by keeping a first aid kit or emergency fund, you can prepare mentally for difficulties by building resilience in advance. One way to do this is through voluntary discomfort. This means deliberately putting yourself in challenging situations when you do not have to, in order to build confidence in your ability to handle difficulty. You might take cold showers to practice tolerating discomfort. You might do hard physical workouts to build mental toughness. You might have difficult conversations you have been avoiding to practice facing fear. These voluntary challenges inoculate you against involuntary ones. When real adversity strikes, you have evidence that you can handle hard things. Building a strong support network is another crucial component of resilience. Research consistently shows that people who have strong social connections recover from adversity faster and more completely than those who are isolated. This does not mean you need dozens of friends. It means having a few people you can be honest with, who will listen without judgment, who will support you without trying to fix everything. When facing difficulty, reach out to these people. Tell them what you are going through. Ask for what you need, whether that is practical help, emotional support, or just someone to listen. Many people hesitate to ask for support because they do not want to burden others or because they believe they should handle everything alone. But allowing others to support you is not weakness. It is wisdom. It strengthens your relationships and increases your capacity to handle challenges. Resilience also requires self-care, especially during difficult times. When you are stressed or struggling, it is tempting to abandon healthy habits. You skip workouts, eat poorly, sleep less, and stop doing things you enjoy. This is exactly backwards. When life is hard, you need these restorative practices more than ever. Make a commitment to maintain your non-negotiables, even when everything else feels chaotic. What are the basic practices that keep you physically and mentally healthy? Maybe it is 8 hours of sleep, regular exercise, healthy meals, time in nature, or connection with loved ones. Protect these practices fiercely, especially during challenging times. They are not luxuries you can afford to skip. They are the foundation that allows you to handle difficulty effectively. Part of resilience is learning to tolerate uncertainty. Many challenges are difficult not because of what is happening, but because you do not know what will happen next. You do not know if you will get the job, if the treatment will work, if the relationship will survive. This uncertainty can be excruciating. Your mind wants to know, to plan, to feel in control. But life does not always provide certainty. Resilient people develop the capacity to move forward despite not knowing how things will turn out. They understand that waiting for certainty before taking action often means never taking action. They make the best decision they can with the information available, knowing that no decision is final, that they can adjust as new information emerges. Resilience is also strengthened by learning from every experience. When you face a challenge and come through it, take time to reflect on what you learned. What worked well and how you handled this? What would you do differently next time? What did this experience teach you about yourself, about others, about life? This reflection transforms experience into wisdom. It ensures that each challenge makes you stronger and more capable, not just more weary. Keep a journal where you record challenges you have faced and how you handled them. When you encounter new difficulties, review this journal. Remind yourself of other hard things you have survived. This evidence of your resilience becomes a powerful resource during tough times. One of the most important insights about resilience is that it is not about bouncing back to exactly who you were before the challenge. It is about bouncing forward. Challenges change you. They should change you. The question is whether they make you bitter or better, whether they close you down or open you up, whether they weaken you or strengthen you. Resilient people use adversity as a catalyst for growth. They emerge from challenges with greater self-knowledge, deeper compassion, stronger skills, and clearer priorities. They do not just survive difficulty. They are transformed by it in positive ways. This does not mean romanticizing suffering or seeking out hardship. It means recognizing that since difficulty is inevitable, you might as well extract every possible lesson and benefit from it. When you face a challenge, alongside the question, what do I need to do to get through this? Ask, what is this experience here to teach me? What strength am I building by facing this? Who am I becoming as I navigate this difficulty? These questions help you see challenges as opportunities for development rather than just obstacles to overcome. Building resilience is a lifelong practice. Each challenge you face and overcome builds your capacity for the next one. Each time you demonstrate to yourself that you can handle difficulty, you become more confident in your ability to face future challenges. This creates a positive cycle. As your resilience grows, you become more willing to take healthy risks and pursue meaningful goals, knowing that even if things do not work out, you will be okay. This willingness to face uncertainty and potential failure opens up opportunities that would remain closed if you only did what felt safe. Resilience, then, is not just about surviving difficulty. It is about thriving because you're no longer limited by fear of difficulty. You know that whatever happens, you have the strength to handle it. Chapter 7: Practical Strategies for Handling Stress and Pressure. Stress is an inevitable part of modern life. Work deadlines, financial pressures, relationship challenges, health concerns, and the constant demands on your time and attention all create stress. While you cannot eliminate stress entirely, you can dramatically change how stress affects you by developing effective strategies for managing it. The difference between stress that motivates you and stress that overwhelms you is not the intensity of the stressor, but how you perceive and respond to it. Two people can face the same situation and have completely different experiences based on their stress management skills. The first step in managing stress effectively is understanding how stress works in your body. When you perceive a threat, whether physical danger or emotional stress, your body activates the fight or flight response. Your sympathetic nervous system releases stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. Your heart rate increases. Your breathing becomes shallow and rapid. Blood flows away from your digestive system and toward your muscles. This response is designed to help you deal with immediate physical threats. It is excellent if you need to run from a predator or fight for your survival. It is less helpful when your stressor is a difficult email, a challenging conversation, or a looming deadline. The problem is that your body cannot distinguish between life-threatening danger and everyday stress. It responds the same way to both. If you constantly activate this stress response without allowing your body to recover, you experience chronic stress, which damages your physical health, impairs your cognitive function, and undermines your emotional well-being. The key to managing stress is learning to activate your parasympathetic nervous system, which is responsible for the rest and digest response. This system calms your body, slows your heart rate, deepens your breathing, and allows your system to recover from stress activation. The single most effective tool for activating your parasympathetic nervous system is controlled breathing. When you breathe slowly and deeply, you send a signal to your brain that you are safe, which turns off the stress response. This is not metaphorical or placebo. It is a direct physiological mechanism. One simple breathing technique is box breathing. Breathe in for a count of 4. Hold for a count of 4. Breathe out for a count of 4. Hold for a count of 4. Repeat this cycle for several minutes. You can do this anywhere, anytime you notice stress building. In a difficult meeting, before a challenging conversation, stuck in traffic, or lying awake at night. Controlled breathing is like having a remote control for your stress response. Use it liberally. Physical movement is another powerful stress management tool. When your body is flooded with stress hormones, the natural completion of the stress cycle involves physical action. This is why exercise is so effective for stress reduction. It burns off the stress hormones and completes the biological stress cycle. You do not need intense exercise to get this benefit. A 20-minute walk, some stretching, dancing to music, or any movement that gets your heart rate up moderately will help. Make physical activity a non-negotiable part of your routine, especially during high-stress periods. Not because you have time for it, but because you cannot afford not to do it. Progressive muscle relaxation is another technique for releasing physical stress. This involves systematically tensing and relaxing different muscle groups throughout your body. Start with your toes. Tense them tightly for 5 seconds, then release and notice the sensation of relaxation. Move to your calves, then thighs, then abdomen, chest, arms, and face. This practice helps you become aware of where you hold tension in your body and teaches you how to consciously release it. Many people walk around with chronically tense shoulders, clenched jaws, or tight stomachs without even realizing it. This chronic tension perpetuates stress. Learning to recognize and release it gives you more control over your stress response. Stress management also requires addressing the thoughts that create and maintain stress. Much of your stress comes not from circumstances themselves, but from how you think about those circumstances. You have a deadline. That is a fact. But the thought, I will never finish this on time, I'm going to fail, everyone will think I am incompetent, creates stress. The thought, this will be challenging, but I have handled tight deadlines before, I will break this into steps and work through it systematically, creates much less stress even though the external circumstance is the same. When you notice yourself feeling stressed, pause and examine your thoughts. What story are you telling yourself about this situation? Is that story accurate? Is it helpful? What alternative thoughts might be more realistic and less stress-inducing? One common thought pattern that creates unnecessary stress is catastrophizing. This means imagining the worst possible outcome and treating it as likely or inevitable. You make a mistake at work and immediately imagine being fired, being unable to pay your bills, losing your home. This catastrophic thinking creates intense stress about outcomes that are highly unlikely. When you catch yourself catastrophizing, challenge it. What is the actual worst-case scenario? How likely is that realistically? Or more probable outcomes? What would you do if the worst-case scenario did occur? Often, even the genuine worst case is something you could survive and recover from. This realistic assessment reduces the power of catastrophic thinking. Another stress-creating thought pattern is all-or-nothing thinking. This means viewing situations in absolute, black and white terms with no middle ground. Either you are perfect or you are a failure. Either everything goes according to plan or it is a disaster. This rigid thinking creates stress because it allows for no mistakes, no flexibility, no gradual progress. Challenge all-or-nothing thinking by looking for the middle ground. What would pretty good look like? What would partial success look like? What if you made some mistakes, but still accomplished the overall goal? This more nuanced thinking reduces pressure and stress. Time management is closely related to stress management. Much of modern stress comes from feeling overwhelmed by too much to do in too little time. While you cannot create more hours in the day, you can become much more intentional about how you use the hours you have. Start by distinguishing between urgent and important. Urgent tasks demand immediate attention. Important tasks contribute to your long-term goals and values. Many people spend most of their time on urgent but unimportant tasks, reacting to emails and requests in minor crises, while important work gets perpetually postponed. This creates stress because you're always busy but never making meaningful progress. To break this pattern, schedule time for important work before dealing with urgent requests. Block the first hour or two of your day for your most important project before checking email or responding to messages. Protect this time fiercely. Most urgent requests can wait an hour or two without consequence. The important work, however, will never get done unless you prioritize it. This simple shift dramatically reduces stress because you know you're making progress on what actually matters, rather than just treading water in an endless sea of urgent trivia. Learning to say no is also essential for stress management. If you say yes to every request, you will inevitably become overwhelmed. You have limited time and energy. Every yes to someone else's priority is often a no to your own. Practice evaluating requests against your actual priorities before responding. Ask yourself, does this align with my current goals? Do I actually have capacity for this? Will I need to sacrifice if I say yes? Many people say yes automatically out of habit or people-pleasing and then feel stressed and resentful about the commitment. Save your yes for what truly matters. Let your no be kind but firm for everything else. Another powerful stress management strategy is creating boundaries between work and personal time. In an always connected world, many people never fully disconnect from work. They check email in the evening, on weekends, even on vacation. This prevents your nervous system from ever fully relaxing and recovering. Create clear boundaries. Decide when your workday ends and stick to it. Turn off work notifications outside work hours. Create a shutdown ritual that signals to your brain that work is over. This might be a short walk, changing clothes, or reviewing what you accomplished today and what you will tackle tomorrow. This psychological closure reduces the background stress of unfinished work constantly occupying mental space. Building recovery time into your routine is just as important as managing stressors. You cannot operate at high intensity constantly without burning out. Your nervous system needs regular opportunities to rest and recover. Build micro breaks into your day. Every hour, stand up, stretch, look away from screens, take a few deep breaths. Build macro breaks into your week. Protect at least one full day where you do not work, where you engage in activities that restore you. Build significant breaks into your year. Take actual vacations where you fully disconnect from work. These breaks are not luxuries. They are essential maintenance that allows you to sustain high performance over the long term. Stress management also benefits from cultivating a practice of gratitude and positive focus. When you are stressed, your attention naturally narrows to focus on threats and problems. This is adaptive in a short term, but creates unnecessary suffering when maintained constantly. Deliberately directing your attention to what is going well, what you appreciate, what is working in your life, creates balance and reduces stress. This does not mean ignoring problems. It means not allowing problems to be the only thing you notice. A simple daily practice is writing down 3 things you're grateful for each evening. This trains your brain to notice positive aspects of your life, not just problems and stressors. Social connection is another powerful buffer against stress. When you face challenges alone, they feel more overwhelming. When you share concerns with trusted others, problems often feel more manageable. You gain perspective, support, and sometimes practical help. Make time for meaningful connection, especially during high-stress periods. Have dinner with friends. Call a family member. Join a community group. These connections are not distractions from handling stress. They're essential resources for managing it effectively. Finally, remember that some level of stress is normal and even beneficial. The goal is not to eliminate all stress, but to keep it within a manageable range and to recover effectively from acute stress episodes. Stress can sharpen your focus, increase your energy, and help you perform at your best when managed properly. The key is knowing your limits, using effective stress management techniques, and creating regular opportunities for recovery. When you develop these skills, stress becomes something you can handle and even harness, rather than something that controls and overwhelms you. Conclusion: putting it all together and moving forward. You have now explored the core principles and practices for building mental strength to handle any situation. You have learned about the architecture of mental strength, including self-awareness, emotional regulation, perspective, adaptability, resilience, and focus. You have discovered how to master your thoughts and beliefs, turning limiting patterns into empowering ones. You have developed strategies for building emotional strength and processing difficult feelings without being controlled by them. You have learned to develop unshakable confidence and self-worth independent of external validation. You have explored techniques for mastering focus and discipline in a distracted world. You have studied resilience and how to grow through adversity. You have gained practical tools for managing stress and pressure effectively. This knowledge is powerful but knowledge alone changes nothing. The transformation you seek will come from applying these principles consistently in your daily life. Mental strength is like physical strength. You do not build it by reading about exercise. You build it by actually exercising, by showing up day after day and doing the work. Similarly, you will not build mental strength by simply understanding these concepts. You will build it by practicing them, by applying them to real situations, by consistently choosing mental strength over mental weakness in the thousands of small decisions you make each day. Start where you are. You do not need to implement everything at once. Choose 1 or 2 practices that resonate most strongly with you and commit to them for the next 30 days. Maybe you will practice observing and reframing your thoughts. Maybe you will implement a daily meditation practice. Maybe you will create time blocks for focused work. Maybe you will build a habit of exercising when you feel stressed. Whatever you choose, make it specific, make it achievable, and make it non-negotiable. Put in your calendar. Track your consistency. Notice what changes as you practice. As you practice these skills, you will encounter resistance. Part of you will want to revert to old patterns, to take the easy path, to avoid discomfort. This resistance is normal. It is not evidence that you are failing or that these practices do not work. It is simply your brain trying to conserve energy by sticking with familiar patterns, even when those patterns do not serve you. When you notice resistance, recognize it for what it is. Do not fight it or judge yourself for experiencing it. Simply acknowledge it and choose to practice the new pattern anyway. Each time you do this, you weaken the old pattern and strengthen the new one. You will also face setbacks. You will have days when you lose focus, when you react emotionally instead of responding thoughtfully, when you let stress overwhelm you, when you believe your limiting thoughts instead of challenging them. These setbacks are not failures. They are part of the process. Every person who has built genuine mental strength has faced countless setbacks along the way. The difference is that they did not let setbacks become stopping points. They acknowledged the setback, learned from it if there was something to learn, and recommended to their practice. You could do the same. One of the most important mindsets for building mental strength is the growth mindset, the belief that your abilities can be developed through effort and practice. People with a fixed mindset believe their qualities are carved in stone. They think they either have what it takes or they do not. This mindset makes them fragile because every challenge threatens their identity. If they struggle or fail, it means they're not smart enough or capable enough. People with a growth mindset believe they can improve at anything through dedicated practice. They view challenges as opportunities to develop their abilities. They see failure as feedback that helps them improve. This mindset makes them resilient and continuously improving. Adopt a growth mindset about mental strength. You're not either mentally strong or mentally weak. You are developing mental strength through practice. Every time you face a difficult situation and apply these principles, you become stronger. Every time you choose discipline over impulse, you build discipline. Every time you reframe a negative thought, you strengthen your mental flexibility. You're always in the process of becoming mentally stronger. There is no finish line where you arrive at complete mental strength and stop growing. There is only continuous development, continuous practice, continuous growth. Build a support system for this journey. Share your commitment to building mental strength with people you trust. Let them know what you're working on and ask for their support. This might mean asking them to hold you accountable to your commitments, to provide encouragement when you're struggling, or simply to understand why you're making certain changes in your life. You might also seek out others who are on a similar path. Join groups, communities, or courses focused on personal development, mental strength, or related topics. Surrounding yourself with people who value growth and support your efforts makes the journey easier and more sustainable. Track your progress. It is easy to focus on how far you still have to go and overlook how far you have already come. Keep a journal where you record your practices, your wins, your challenges, and your insights. Every few months, review this journal. Notice patterns. Celebrate progress. Identify what is working well and what needs adjustment. This reflection practice helps you see your growth over time, which builds confidence and motivation to continue. Remember that building mental strength is not about becoming perfect. It is about becoming more skilled at handling life's challenges, more resilient in the face of adversity, more focused on what matters, more intentional in your choices, and more at peace with yourself and your life. It is about developing the inner resources to handle whatever life brings with grace, courage, and effectiveness. This is a worthy pursuit that will serve you for the rest of your life. As you move forward, carry this truth with you. You are stronger than you think. You have already survived 100% of your worst days. You have faced challenges before and come through them. You have resources, capabilities, and strength that you have not yet fully tapped. Every day is an opportunity to develop these qualities further, to become even more capable, even more resilient, even more mentally strong. You do not need to wait until you feel ready. You do not need to wait until circumstances are perfect. You can start now, exactly where you are with what you have. The situations you will face in your life cannot be predicted. You will encounter challenges you cannot imagine now. You will face losses, disappointments, obstacles, and setbacks. This is the human experience. But with the mental strength you are building, you will be able to handle these challenges. You will not be destroyed by them. You will not be defined by them. You will move through them, learn from them, and emerge stronger. You will become the kind of person who handles difficult situations with composure, who bounces back from setbacks quickly, who stays focused on what matters despite distractions, who maintains inner peace despite external chaos. This is the power of mental strength, and it is available to you. Not someday in the future when you have practiced more, but right now, in this moment. You can choose a more empowering thought right now. You can take a deep breath and calm your nervous system right now. You can identify one small action aligned with your goals and take it right now. Mental strength is built one choice at a time, one moment at a time, one practice at a time. Each choice you make to apply these principles is a brick in the foundation of your mental strength. Each moment you choose courage over fear, discipline over impulse, growth over comfort, you become stronger. Your life is shaped by the quality of your mind. A strong mind creates a strong life. A clear mind creates a purposeful life. A resilient mind creates a fulfilling life regardless of external circumstances. You have the power to develop these qualities. You have the tools and knowledge. Now you need only the commitment to practice and the courage to persist when practice is difficult. Make that commitment now. Decide that you will build mental strength, not because it is easy, but because it is worth it. Because you are worth it. Because the life you want requires the person you are becoming. As you close this audiobook and return to your life, remember that every moment is an opportunity to practice mental strength. Every challenge is an opportunity to build resilience. Every frustration is an opportunity to practice emotional regulation. Every distraction is an opportunity to strengthen focus. Every limiting thought is an opportunity to choose an empowering belief. You are not passively waiting for mental strength to arrive. You are actively building it through your choices and actions every single day. Thank you for investing this time in yourself. Thank you for committing to your growth and development. Thank you for deciding to build the mental strength to handle any situation. This decision will transform your life in ways you cannot yet imagine. Trust the process. Practice the principles. Persist through challenges. You are capable of far more than you realize. Your mental strength is not determined by your past or your current circumstances. It is determined by what you choose to practice starting today. Choose strength. Choose growth. Choose the person you are becoming. Your best life is waiting for you, and you now have the mental strength to create it. Go forward with confidence, courage, and unshakable resolve. You have everything you need. Now it is time to use it. Thank you for listening on Audiobook USA.